This is lesson 5.3 on the slope-intercept form. And remember, we're in chapter 5, so everything that we're doing in chapter 5 has to do with linear functions. And the slope-intercept form is just one form of a linear equation. Just like all the other notes you've taken, you're going to need graph paper, a pencil, and a ruler so that you can take good Cornell notes. And on this lesson, I would like you to make sure that you write down the essential question based on this learning target, and that is write and graph linear equations using the slope-intercept form. So set up your Cornell note paper like this, make sure you put the lesson in the upper left-hand corner, and write in the essential question. Here's the learning target. Take a second, pause the video, and write it down and get set for these notes. Okay. First thing you should write down is the slope-intercept form. And the slope-intercept form is just one way to show a linear equation. This equation is y equals mx plus b. Notice that the m and the b are written in different colors because they represent numbers that you will replace in the equation. The m represents the rate of change or slope. Remember, we talked about the rate of change and slope in 5.1. The b represents the beginning point, or the y-intercept. That should be pretty easy to remember, b for beginning point. Now recall that you did this in 8th grade, or for honors students you did this in 7th grade. The equation of a line represents the beginning point and the slope. So if you look at a graph, the beginning point is just where it crosses the y-axis. The slope is just the rise over the run. So you can figure out the equation of this line just by looking at it and calculating the b and the m. And we're going to get into that a little further in this lesson. So for now we're looking at just the basics. Problem 1 says, what are the slope and y-intercept of the graph of y equals 5x minus 2? Let me write it bigger so you can see it. Well, you don't have to graph this to figure out the slope and the y-intercept. You should just be able to identify it by noticing the form of the equation is in y equals mx plus b. The slope, m, is 5. The beginning point, b, is negative 2. And that's it. Problem 2. What is an equation of the line with the slope negative 4/5 and a y-intercept of 7? So in problem 2, instead of giving you the equation of the line like I did in problem 1 and asking you what the slope and y-intercept are, I'm going to give you the slope, m, equals negative 4/5, and the y-intercept or beginning point of 7. You just have to write the equation. If you start with the form y equals mx plus b, you just have to replace the m and the b with the m and the b that are given. So the equation for this problem is y equals negative 4/5 x plus b, which is 7. Very simple, very basic, and mostly review for most of you. In problem 3, what equation represents the line of the graph? You just have to look at the graph and figure out where the line crosses the y-axis. That will be the beginning point. And then calculate the slope by calculating the rise over the run. So if I look at this graph, this is the point where it crosses the y-axis, and the y-coordinate is 1, 2, in the downward direction that's negative 2. The slope of the line, if I use this point and I pick another point, like this one, the slope is the rise. I'm going up 2 over the run. I'm going to the right 1. The slope is 2 over 1, which you can just write as 2. So what's the equation? Start with the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Replace the m with the m and the b with the b. Y equals 2 x plus negative 2. That works, or you can write y equals 2x minus 2. Now, I'm talking really quickly to get through these problems quickly so that as you write these notes down with this video, you can pause and resume at your own pace. If you come to a part of these notes where you have questions, make sure that in your Cornell notes you put a question mark to remind you to come to me in class and ask me questions. Problem 4 is a little bit more difficult. It just adds a few more steps which you've already worked on. And it says, what equation in slope-intercept form represents the line that passes through these 2 points? So, you know you're going to write it in slope-intercept form. You're going to need the y equals mx plus b. You're going to have to figure out what the m is, and you're going to have to figure out what the b is. So, since we've already done lesson 5.1, you know you can find the slope of a line by calculating y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So all I do is label these points as I've done and put them into my equation. y2 is negative 3 minus y1 is negative 2. Notice that I'm subtracting a negative, which makes it adding a positive, over x2 minus x1. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, and 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 1 over negative 2 equals positive 1/2. I'm halfway there. I know that my slope is 1/2. Now, how do I figure out where this line crosses the y-axis? Well, there's a couple ways to do it. One way would be to graph these points and try to figure out where it crosses the y-axis. And that works sometimes, except that if the y-intercept is a fraction, it's more difficult to find. Here's a way that you can find the y-intercept using the slope-intercept form. Now you may have to stop this and watch it again because this is sometimes confusing. In this problem, I know now what the m is. I just calculated the m to be 1/2. I also have 2 coordinates. I'm going to write one of them down, 3, negative 2. And this coordinate has an x and a y. So I'm going to take the x value and put it in place of the letter x in the equation. And I'm going to take the y value and put it in place of the y in the equation. And now the only thing that's missing is the b, which I can solve for now. 1/2 times 3 is 1.5, or 1.5. To solve for b, I subtract 1.5 from both sides. And what I get is b equals negative 2 minus 1.5 is negative 3.5. I'm still not finished. The question says, through all of this garbage, what is, or what equation in slope-intercept form represents this line? So I know the m, and I know the b. Now I just have to write the equation. Y equals m, that's 1/2, x, plus b, that's negative 3.5. Or y equals 1/2 x minus 3.5. A long process in that problem to figure out the answer. But let's keep going. Problem 5. What is the graph of the line y equals 2x minus 1? You can take this equation and you can pull out the parts of the equation that you know, which are the m. The m in this case is 2. And the b. The b is negative 1. The b is the beginning point. That's where you start the line. So all I'm going to do is go on the y-axis down to negative 1. This is that point right there, -1 on the y-axis. The slope is 2. Now a slope is generally written as a fraction, so I'm going to write 2 as a fraction by writing it over 1. 2 over 1. That means I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 1. So starting at the beginning point, I'm going to go up 2 and over 1 and put another point there. And go up 2, over 1, put another point there. And I just keep continue to repeat that process until I have a line. And that's my line by connecting all of the points. One more time. I took the equation, I pulled out the slope and the y-intercept. I start in the beginning, so I put the beginning point on the graph first, and then I use the slope by rising and running to get all of the points that follow. So at this point I'm going to stop. There is one more story problem, but I'm going to save that for class. Here is the assignment if you want to get a head start on it. Otherwise, come on Wednesday prepared to work and ask questions.